I have taken this lecture on thyroid because if you are practicing cytopathologist, you have to face everyday's challenge on thyroid lesions. I think it will be helpful to all of you who are present here. And I will discuss in this heading. Now, there is some special advantage of thyroid FNAC because nobody will snatch this FNAC from you. Incisional biopsy and true cut biopsy, impossible with thyroid. And it is superficial lesion, so you will get a lot of cases, whatever in the changing circumstances. And the main aim of the cytopathologist is to distinguish benign and malignant lesion. That is the main aim. And also selecting the patient for surgery. Now, why there is interpretation error? Interpretation error may be due to overlapping cytomorphological features. There are many variants of malignancy, and some rare cases sometimes may create problem. Now, this is the WHO classification, most updated in 2017, and you can see many of these lesions we cannot diagnose on cytology. Because of capsular invasion, you cannot tell, and angio invasion also, impossible in thyroid. And so there is need of Bethesda system, which is an umbrella, which helps you for medical legal aspect and also many practical aspect. Inadequate lesions, you must have to do repeat FNAC. And benign lesions, most of the time you are right. Problem is atypia of undetermined significance and follicular lesion of undetermined significance. Category 3, the risk of malignancy is high. And then come follicular neoplasm, both follicular adenoma, carcinoma, and Hürthle cell tumor. Suspicious for malignancy group where you are not sure, their risk of malignancy high, so you have to be careful, and malignancy. When you say specific type of malignancy, you are right, almost 96% cases, and thyroidectomy will be done, so you have to be very careful. Now about the interpretation of thyroid FNAC, as usual, you should take a good clinical history. Nothing can replace the good clinical history. Examine the patient carefully. If there is a hard lesion, firm to hard, fixed to the skin, solitary nodule, chances of malignancy more. See the lymph nodal enlargement present or not. Thyroid hormone and thyroid scan status, if any. Carefully examine the gross material. Very important. And then microscopic examination. First, see in the low power, it will give you the overall view of colloid, necrosis, samama bodies, cell arrangement, see whether there are follicles or papilla or cellular overlapping or discrete cells, and then high power examination. With this, we can go to the lesions individual, most important area. I would prefer the interactive session, but there are no scopes of interaction here. Even I cannot see the participants also. But you can ask yourself in these solutions. So first, let's see one by one. This case, immediate diagnosis you can do. Abundant colloid thyroid follicular cells, so colloid goiter. Sometimes you may get much more thyroid follicular cells. But if you can see carefully, you may get thin colloid as seen in the left uh, upper image. You may get the thyroid follicular cells with fat flare appearance, and diagnosis, you can make it category 2 benign lesion. Occasionally, you may get lymphocytic infiltration, even in the colloid goiter. From these 4 figures, the diagnosis probably obvious to you. Yes, you're right. This is a case of lymphocytic thyroiditis. You can see the lymphocytic infiltration, scanty colloid, occasional ill-formed granuloma also you may get. Another case, 38-year female, 3 centimeter swelling, and diagnosis may be obvious because you can see the polymorphic population, so lymphocytic thyroiditis, category 2. What's about this case? 4 centimeter swelling. You see the smear, there are lymphocytes, the left lower image, plasma cells, thyroid follicular cells, many lymphoid cells, and thyroid follicular cells. So, diagnosis. At times it is difficult, in fact, until and unless you do here flow cytometry, it shows the light chain restriction, lambda chain expression only, CD20 positive, B cell, and CD523 both positive. And it is a chronic lymphocytic lymphoma in the thyroid. Really difficult, and this is the diagnostic challenge in the routine reporting. Until and unless you have suspicion. Suspicion can come when you get monomorphic cell population, or you may get associated lymph node enlargement. You have to be careful enough. So if you see differential diagnosis, one is lymphocytic thyroiditis, another is lymphoma. Which one? You're right, left side non-Hodgkin lymphoma, right lymphocytic thyroiditis. Similarly, another differential will come. Plenty of Hartle cells. One is lymphocytic thyroiditis, another not. Left one is lymphocytic thyroiditis. You can see oncocytes or Hartle cells with lymphocytic infiltration, another plenty of Hartle cells. At times you may get thin colloid with abundant thyroid follicular cells, microfollicular arrangement. So you may report it as follicular lesion of undetermined significance, category 3, or if you are sure enough, you can say that simple colloid goiter with hyperplasia, but it is better to report follicular lesion of undetermined significance. Here there are abundant microfollicles there. Similarly, if you see this case in an 8-year-old girl who has macroglossia, mental retardation, and see that abundant thyroid follicular cells, many microfollicles, mild degree nuclear atypia. So diagnosis is difficult here. we gave it as follicular lesion of undetermined significance, means category 3. The case was subsequently diagnosed as dyshormonogenic goiter. It's a rare congenital lesions where genetic abnormalities there, and we put it category 3, abundant microfollicles, nuclear overlapping, mild atypia. This case, if you see, a 30-year female, what is your impression? See the blue arrow, cluster of cells apparently looking papilla. There are nuclear overlapping. There are red arrow which shows your inclusions like structure. And if you see the lower right image, query grooving. So diagnosis category 3. We gave the report as papillary carcinoma, seeing these inclusions and grooving and papilla-like structure, but it came as architectural atypia, nuclear atypia was our main things. If you would report AUS, it would be better, but we overdiagnosed it as papillary carcinoma. It came as histopathology, nodular goiter, and you have to be careful. Sometimes long-standing goiter may have papilla-like structure. Even you may get internuclear inclusions and nuclear grooving. Suppose this case, another case, 39-year female. See the multiple clusters, query papilla, occasional inclusion-like structures, red arrow. So diagnostically, it should come as atypia suspicious for papillary carcinoma of thyroid. Was probably overdiagnosis here because it came as, we thought that architectural atypia and nuclear atypia there, but we overdiagnosed it. It's a diagnostic problem, and it came as lymphocytic thyroiditis only. So if you see this category 3, here you may get cytologic atypia, nuclear enlargement pleomorphism, architectural abnormality, many microfollicles, both cytology atypia and architectural atypia, such as papilla, microfollicles, Hurthle cell, excessive Hurthle cell, or sometimes simple atypia. You may not qualify it anything. So what to do in these cases? You can repeat FNAC, have a thyroid scan. If it is a cold nodule, there is a chance of malignancy. If it is a hot nodule, then you can exclude malignancy chance. Do not overdiagnose. Follow up this case. If possible, do molecular pathology, which I'll discuss later on. So this is one of the big area. Now I will come to the other areas. Here, obvious, you can say that multiple thyroid follicles, and it is a case of, yes, follicular neoplasm, category 4. Here again, problem is adenoma versus carcinoma. If you get HBME or galectin positive, you may think that it may be follicular carcinoma. And RAS mutation present in follicular carcinoma. This case, again follicular neoplasm. See, abundant microfollicles. But this case came after some days as femoral head lysis, lytic lesion, and almost same picture, thyroglobulin positive, and so it came as follicular carcinoma. So sometimes it's very difficult, in fact, adenoma versus carcinoma, or not possible at all. If you have enlarged pleomorphic nuclei, irregular clump chromatin, frequent mitosis, you may suggest, but you may be wrong also. You may suggest follicular carcinoma. This case, a 29-year male, solitary nodule, microfollicles. But have you noted that red arrow? Here there are her flare appearance. So it's a case of category 3 or 4, you can put it, follicular hyperplasia. You may, if you are lucky, you may get scanty colloid. Third flare appearance, people ignore that, but I still prefer to give importance. This case, see the blue arrow, multiple microfollicles here. Inspissated colloid. Red arrow, see, there are many such abnormalities. And diagnosis is, you can put it category 3 or 4. And this is a follicular variant of papillary carcinoma. These are red arrow are nothing but grooving. So inspissated colloid and grooving. Nuclear features of papillary thyroid carcinoma you may get. So if you see the differential diagnosis here, see that this is a follicular hyperplasia, fat flare appearance, relatively less cellular, follicular variants of papillary carcinoma, nuclear features you may get. Sometimes follicular lesions also come, parathyroid adenoma and follicular neoplasia. So if you see that in follicular hyperplasia, more colloid, less follicles. Follicular neoplasm, more follicles, less colloid. And follicular variant of papillary carcinoma, you get all the nuclear features, but mind it, you may not get those features and you miss in your routine reporting. You have to be careful enough. If you have facilities to the molecular test, that is not possible in India in many centers. So red PTC oncogenic transformation positive in 20% and BRAF mutation in 50% of follicular variant of papillary carcinoma. So this is the differential diagnosis of this area. And this you can see immediately what it is, abundant oncocytes. So this is the category 4 Hurthle cell neoplasm. Now, the closest differential diagnosis, one is Hurthle cell and another is not Hurthle cell. So which one Hurthle cell neoplasm? Yes, you are right. The left one is Hurthle cell, right medullary carcinoma. And here the cellular differentiation is that abundant eosinophilic cytoplasm in Hurthle cells, centrally placed two mildly eccentric nucleus, prominent nucleoli. And here you will get the salt and pepper chromatin, reddish granules in the cytoplasm. And these are calcitonin positive. This is the differential diagnosis of Hurthle cell versus lymphocytic thyroiditis that we have discussed before. So this table highlights that Hurthle cell tumor, you get abundant Hurthle cells. Lymphocytic thyroiditis, you get usually patient hypothyroid, abundant lymphocytes. Hurthle cells also we may get. And medullary carcinoma, we discussed that. This lesion, spot, see papilla, inclusion here, samoma body. So it is a case of papillary carcinoma. So these are the features of papillary carcinoma. Some of them are architectural features, some background features of samoma bodies, multinucleated giant cells, and nuclear features. Inclusions, particularly longitudinal group, optically clear nuclei. In case of inclusions, you have to be careful because inclusions, nucleoli also may simulate like inclusion, and overlapping RBCs also may simulate. So the color of the inclusion should have same of cytoplasm. So identical tinctorial color of cytoplasm and thick margin of the inclusions. And it may get it in various lesions, such as lymphocytic thyroiditis, medullary carcinoma. You can get inclusions, and these are the grooving, which is the important feature, but many other lesions also have nuclear groove. Samoma bodies is a diagnostic, and it is difficult to miss, except thick colloid or calcified material may simulate. Molecular genetics, red PTC oncogenic translocation, 20% papillary thyroid carcinoma, and BRAF gene mutation. They may also positive for galectin-3, but immunocytochemistry is little helpful. Doesn't help much. This case, you can see abundant oncocytes and nuclear papilla, nuclear feature, optically clear nucleus. So, diagnosis is yes, oncocytic variant of papillary thyroid carcinoma. There are other variants also, long list. I am not discussing those, but they may create problems sometimes. So people create major diagnostic criteria and minor diagnostic criteria. These are the major diagnostic criteria. Enlarged irregular nucleus, eccentric multiple micronucleoli, longitudinal group, pale chromatin, internuclear inclusions, and these are the minor diagnostic criteria. Particularly papillary architecture, dense squamoid cytoplasm, bubblegum colloid, Samoma bodies, multinucleated giant cells, and so on. This is a case, 25-year male, thumb swelling over thyroid, fixed to skin. There you get calcifications, nuclear occasional giant cells, and this may simulate papillary carcinoma, but actually it is pilomatricoma. This is the case. There you see abundant discrete cells, cells with eccentric nucleus, occasional follicle-like arrangement. This is the cell morphology, nuclear morphology. So you can say safely that it is category 6. And yes, medullary carcinoma. And this is the features of medullary carcinoma. And here you get dissociated plasmacytoid cells, spindle cells, salt and pepper chromatin, reddish granules in the cytoplasm, and positive for calcitonin. So sometimes you may get amyloid. Which one is amyloid? This or this? This is the amyloid. This is colloid. Amyloid usually has smooth-edged, fibrillary, surrounded by tumor cells, and colloid has irregular edge, homogeneous. And this is the other differential diagnosis which we have discussed before, Hürthle cell versus medullary carcinoma. Plenty of spindle cells. So this is also a medullary carcinoma and spindle cell variants. There are other variants also, medullary carcinoma. But see this case, 36-year female has a 5 centimeter solitary nodule, and you see the discrete cells, round to oval, slightly eccentric nucleus. Here, if you see carefully, there's some hair flare appearance. So your diagnosis. Only one thing is important I want to highlight, nuclear feature C. There is no salt and pepper chromatin. Unfortunately, we reported this as medullary carcinoma, but it is not. See the histopathology. It's a follicular neoplasm, follicular adenoma. So sometimes it may mimic, but here you can overcome the diagnostic difficulties if you take care of the nuclear features, which we did not give much importance. And there are a lot of variants of medullary carcinoma, clear cell, oncocytic, spindle cell, anaplastic. Each one will give you problem. Fortunately, they are uncommon. This case, easy to diagnose because solid cluster of cells, follicular arrangement, sometimes optically clear nucleus. You may get grooving also. So category 6, but what? This is the histopathology. So now you know this is the insular carcinoma. And if you see that discrete and small cluster of cells, microfollicle, nuclear features of papillary thyroid carcinoma. Immunocytochemistry may not help you. One is medullary, one is insular. Which one? You can say that this is the medullary carcinoma. Insular carcinoma also will have differential diagnosis with follicular neoplasm and papillary carcinoma. They are difficult to diagnose. This is easy to diagnose. See that necrosis. If you see necrosis in the thyroid, please think of this lesion and large desired cells. So yes, you are right. This is anaplastic carcinoma of thyroid. So this is the features. These are the features: abundant polymorphs, markedly pleomorphic cells, large desired cells, and these are negative for thyroglobulin and TT1. Both are negative. See here also thyroid follicular cells and pleomorphic cells, and this you may be tempted to report it as anaplastic carcinoma. But if I give you the history, immediately you will withdraw your diagnosis. This is a history of carcinoma breast. So it will come in the differential diagnosis. Before diagnostic anaplastic carcinoma thyroid, please take a good history. The patient has any other type carcinoma or not. This is a very rare Langerhans cell histiocytosis. But in last 30-35 years of practice, I have encountered 2-3 such cases. They get diagnostic problem because they have grooving of nucleus. You should see the background eosinophils. And you can confirm by cell block followed by immunocytochemistry, CD1A and Lacadin. And this one is a problem case, which neck swelling in a young female, you see it is not fitting with anything, just abundant cells, clear cytoplasm. Actually, you know, this always will create problem to you because this is a case of parathyroid neoplasm. This is a histopathology. And this you can put it category 3 or 4. You may miss if you don't take the history. Sometimes history patient may not give. Actually, patient may not give you proper clue, and here you will miss this case. So now, with this panoramic view, we can go to the ancillary test. I'll briefly say ancillary tests because they are not very helpful, particularly immunocytochemistry. Follicular carcinoma, adenoma, people say HBME and galectin-3. Carcinoma will be positive 50 to 95%, but they are overlapping also, so it may not help. And calcitonin can help you for diagnosis of medullary carcinoma. This is one important thing. And then you can go molecular testing. You can do molecular testing by direct smear or liquid-based cytology. You can put it, cell block you can make it, centrifuge supernatant you can take it for molecular testing. And there are Afirma GEC, which do mRNA and gene expression. DNA RNA based next generation sequencing can help you, and next generation sequencing can help you. But these are all actually is very costly and are not applicable in Indian scenario because we don't do them. But you should know that things because they are knocking our door, these things. mRNA gene expression, next generation sequencing. And now in summary and conclusion, before 30, I have another 20 seconds. I can tell you again that clinical history, take a good history, do a thyroid scan, if possible, if you have difficulties. Both low and high power examination, careful examination help. Activity of undetermined significance may give you the problem, which you may not solve by immunocytochemistry. You may have to take the help of molecular genetics. And thank you very much.